Satan is a real thing, what a genius thing to make it ridiculous to believe in him.
So all the basic Christian education, I got it.
But no one has had conversations with the devil, right?
No, not really.
No, but people, I bet you've talked to people that said God has talked to them.
Now, this is an interesting way to start the conversation. So already we have Rogan, speaking about a common misconception within the community of people who aren't believers. When we see people saying, I have heard from God, or, I have spoken to God, a lot of the times just a misconception. A lot of the times what they mean by that might be, hey, this person spoke to me and I feel like God spoke through that person. Not that necessarily, I had an audible voice come into my head and I audibly spoke back to him. Most of the time it can be something like I saw a sign and I feel like God spoke to me that way. So I think that it's kind of funny that we're starting out like this. It's a common misconception, and it's understandable, because when you might hear someone first say, God talked to me, it's what you might think, but digging a little bit deeper in, we see that that's not actually the case.
It's not an uncommon thing, though, right?
No, but my background or the church I grew up in, and my mom and dad are pretty strict. Like Pastor Walter growing up, that guy was a logger. This was a small little town.
That's a cool story.
And he had, I'm not kidding, he had a scar from here down through his jaw to here. A chainsaw jumped back and went, cut him right through the face. That's a man. That's a manly man right there. He was the nicest, pleasant, like, hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, he wasn't like some shit.
Oh my goodness!
He doesn't have to convince you.
So everything, it was real simple. Here's a good book, read it. If it says yes, do it. If it says no, don't. That's all. There's no pomp and circumstance. Right. There's no robes. There's no, real simple, real straightforward. But my dad would be interested, and he'll be listening to this. So he would be interested in your thing of if the end times doesn't come, and Satan can say, hey, guess what I can do?
But here's the thought.
Would somebody take that? If
Satan really was clever.
If he's real, he is the prince and power of the air. He is the great deceiver. He's very clever.
Right. But if Satan is a real thing, what a genius thing to make it ridiculous to believe in him. What a genius thing to make it so that even saying you've communicated with Satan, or saying
you sound like a loon.
You sound like a loon.
Now, this is something that I'm really glad that Joe caught on to. A lot of people don't understand, right, that the devil, the smartest thing that he could possibly do is just make people sound stupid that, think they exist. A lot of people think, if the devil was real, the best thing he could do was, to go and make people Satanists, or to go make people demon worshipers. But we see all the time people who have, worship Satan or worship demons, they come to Christ because they know for a fact God exists now, because they went and worshiped Satan. So if Satan exists, God must exist. So they know that. But what makes it even harder to come to Christianity? Well, it's to not even believe that Christianity is a true thing to exist in the first place. To make people believe that God doesn't exist is the easiest way to make people not come to Christianity. For example, we heard all about, unicorns growing up, with rainbows coming out of them and horns on their head, right? If you told someone today, I believe in unicorns that have rainbows coming out of them, and I believe in leprechauns that have the pot of gold at the end of it, they would look at you like you're crazy, and they wouldn't even take you serious in society. So say you even did believe that there was a unicorn, or say you even did believe that there was a leprechaun at the end of the rainbow, you wouldn't even want to say it, because people would look at you crazy. And I have a weird feeling that that's what's happening with a lot of society today, that people will look at you weird if you say you believe in God. So weird that people are willing to not even profess their faith, or not even think about their faith, because they're scared of being looked at weird. And that's the work that Satan has done.
We would say, awesome. But if the president said, we've located the devil, he's in Afghanistan, and we're beginning bombing,
he'd be
like, what? What the fuck did you just say?
And you're right about genius, because if you're ridiculed or look like a loon for believing in Satan, then by default, you're a loon for believing in God. So he's done his job by negating everything.
Well, sort of.
No, to
because
a point,
a lot of people that believe in God,
they're both in the same book.
They believe in Satan as a concept. I think it's like there's like a graph.
True.
Of people that, like, if you had a pie chart of all the people that believe in God, right?
Sure.
It's
or the entity
the
of
ones
God.
that think that Satan's a real thing is probably like a quarter of the pie.
And
now this is kind of showing me a little bit. Joe Rogan must be actually looking into religion a little bit more, because this is true. There is a lot of people out there, although I wouldn't say it's 75% of people that believe in God, that think, Satan's just merely a concept, right? Hell is not, a real thing. It was maybe started by Dante's Inferno or what have you. But if we actually look at it, he's right in a sense. There is a lot of people that don't truly believe that Satan exists, that he is a mere figure to either one, show the importance of how bad sin is, or two, just to simply scare you. Kind of like how you would say to your kids, the boogeyman's going to get you if you get out of bed. You don't want to get out of bed, someone's going to get you. In the same way, there are some people that believe that, even though it's wrong, there's a lot of people that believe that. So it's interesting that he's looking into these, little critique things about religion and about the beliefs of individual people.
It's the plain Jane Bible.
Right.
Satan was the number one angel. He was number two in charge. He was the big cheese and said, I want to have everything. And God was like, not going to happen.
Yeah. But isn't that always like even in the mob?
Yes.
That kind of thing happened.
Number two tries
to kill number one.
Yeah.
When they killed Paul Castellano in front of Sparks Steakhouse in New York City.
And it's funny too, because it's so true, right? We actually see this like in day-to-day things, right? The things of the Bible, such as Satan trying to overthrow God, and really any concept in the Bible, funny enough, we see those things on a day-to-day basis. It is not something that happened one time and you say, why are these things not happening anymore, right? Satan trying to overthrow God. As Joe Rogan mentioned, in the mafia, the number two tries to overthrow the number one. Well, we see that all the time in day-to-day basis. We see assistant coaches trying to overthrow head coaches in, sports or, in any sort of event. We see, people who are below the CEO try to become the CEO. So what Satan did, although on a much larger scale, well, these things occur every day. There are modern day minimalist Satans everywhere trying to overthrow to gain power. And I think that that's something important. And I think this is something that's going to actually weigh in on Joe Rogan's head a little bit, because he sees that, okay, these things in the Bible, these things are happening literally all around us. People are trying to gain power all around us, and for bad reasons too. It's bad, but again, it's good that he's seeing these things. Now, I think that this opens up a really good passage for people to really look at what's real and what's not. I think it's good for both Christians and non-Christians to look for evidence for beliefs. I don't think that Joe Rogan is, maybe purposely not being a Christian. I think he's actually looking into it, and I think that's why we have these things here. And I think it's important to also, when we're looking at these beliefs, to look around us and see how those beliefs may fit in to society, right? Like we talked about earlier, not believing in God or believing in God. Is that something that people may make fun of you for, or something that, people may call you crazy about, right? What do you say about the president? If the president were to go say, we are, nuking a random desert because we found Satan, what would everybody say? They would call for impeachment of the president. They would call for him to be out of the office and put into an asylum. Now, granted, obviously, even us Christians, we don't think you could nuke Satan because he's immaterial. But this just goes to show you that no matter what you said, right? Even if you went and said, I saw Satan, I saw the works of Satan, people are going to look at you like you're insane. And that's typically how it happens. So keep this in mind. When we're looking into Christianity and you're hearing people talk about Christianity, keep in mind what might be going on in the back of their mind about what's going to happen if they do believe.